It's been a difficult and emotional week for Manitoba after deadly wildfires took the lives of 2 people, destroyed cottages and homes, and forced the evacuation of hundreds. Wildfire evacuees from the hard-hit Wendigo Beach area northeast of Lac-du-Bonnet were allowed back in the area for the first time last night. Some people returned to find blackened wastelands where their neighborhood once stood. Joining us now with the latest is Premier Wab Kinew. Good morning, Mr. Premier.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Now, it's been a really difficult week, over a week for our province, and so devastating with these wildfires. What's the latest on the ground that you can tell us right now?
Well, as you said, some folks who lost their properties have been able to see them. At the weekend, we were up to about 2,000 people out of their homes. About half of that have been able to return now, so we are making progress, particularly in some of those southeastern communities. But we know that the biggest tragedy was the lives that were lost. And I did have an opportunity to speak to the family, and again, I offer my condolences and our support. I want to thank Manitobans who participated in the GoFundMe and have been helping out just across the board. And when we're talking about the fire situation right now, it's very serious. In that southeastern Eastman area, it's still serious there. Even in the area around Lac-du-Bonnet, you've got peaty soil, so there's a risk that there's embers buried beneath the surface where we can't see them, so we're still keeping an eye on there. That's explaining why some people are still out of their homes in that region. And then in the north and in northwestern Manitoba, that's becoming a concern again. We had those issues in the Paw a few weeks ago. People have been able to return home, but now we're keeping an eye on a few fires near Cross Lake and also near Lynn Lake. And so situation's very serious. They've lifted the fire ban in the city of Winnipeg, but there is a fire ban in most of the rest of the province. So again, it's a tough thing to ask people when we're having this great weather right now in some parts of the city. But again, if you can avoid doing something that might potentially pull firefighting resources away from the front lines of these wildfires, it's just a small way that we can also help back. And I guess one other thing to mention is that folks in parts of the Whiteshell are able to return home as well too, sort of in the west and in the south.
But it's still dry out there, and
still dry.
Our forecast is looking really sunny, really warm, no precipitation in the next few days.
No, and where the rain fell over the weekend wasn't necessarily in those areas where we would have liked to see it to help with the wildfire. So it really does continue to be a serious situation. Thankfully, Alberta, British Columbia, the federal government through Parks Canada, they're helping out. Firefighters from those areas have been here.
Just even the sheer number of volunteers in our communities here in Manitoba, the way people have really pulled together in this tragedy. Yeah,
you've got people in like evacuees in Winnipeg, Morris, Altona, Steinbach, Brandon, and right across the province. Again, in Lac-du-Bonnet and the surrounding areas, you had people, like I spoke to evacuees, one of them was saying, I was sleeping in my truck until one of our neighbors came out and got me and invited me in from sleeping out there in the vehicle, right? And that just speaks to one, the really stressful situation that a lot of people have been thrown into over the past few weeks, but also the way people in our province are stepping up to help each other.
For those people who have lost their properties, their cottages, their homes, we are probably going to see some numbers start coming in the next few days on just the sheer amount of devastation out there, dollar-wise. Any support from the province towards that? Yeah,
I think it's going to be a situation where we work together. The local municipalities are always the first line, and then the province steps in after that 72-hour mark. So we have been there already because it's been more than 3 days for a lot of these people. Just putting checks in hand to cover people's expenses, making sure that people have a place to stay, things like that. And now, as we get that count of the number of structures and properties that have been damaged, then we'll move into that next phase of figuring out how do we work together to help people through this.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the Western Premiers meeting happening in Yellowknife. You're doing this virtually. Tell us about some of the things that you want to sort of establish and then bring to the table over the next...
Yeah, well, first of all, I would have loved to be there with my colleagues, but the wildfire situation, I don't think it made sense to go to the territories right now. But I think one of the big things we're looking at are these nation-building projects. And if you look at what the conversation has been since the federal election, I think they're national unity projects too. Like, how do we build up Canada together with Alberta and Saskatchewan and all of our western neighbors by just being able to do things like like bring our natural resources to international markets. The whole thing with Trump and the U.S. has changed a lot of our thinking about the economy. So we've got minerals, we've got oil and gas, we've got all sorts of great goods that we want to export. How do we get that to Europe? How do we get that to Asia? So along with the other Western premiers, we'll be signing an MOU just saying we're going to work together on that. And then that, I think, feeds right into the meeting with the Prime Minister in the coming weeks.
Okay, and we're almost out of time already. Every day we have a question of the day. Today's question is, what musical instrument do you play? Do you want to share your thoughts or your own instrument this morning?
I'm a politician. I got one note, and it's to kick the opposition when they're down. So I just got to say, Heather Stephenson made history for all the wrong reasons yesterday. We're going to see what this report means in terms of the last government trying to push a mine through after you voted them out of office, after they lost the election. So yeah, I'll keep strumming my same tune.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Premier, for sharing your time with us. Thank you.